I'm Gary Parrish. Welcome back to the CBS Sports Eye on College Basketball podcast, where we sometimes discuss camel fighting, dodo birds, leaky black. Matt Norlander is here with me. If you're watching on YouTube, you know what to do to that like button. Shouts to Brandon Davey. If you haven't yet subscribed to the CBS Sports College Basketball YouTube channel, you should have already done that. I've been telling you for feels like years. Let's get into it. The biggest headline for the past couple of days originated in stores where Alex Karaban announced he's returning to UConn for his senior season. This did not impact the top 25 and 1 because I've always assumed Karaban would be back at UConn. Still, it's official, and it ends all speculation. So here's my first question for you, Matt Norlander. With a possible starting lineup of Silas Demery, Solo Ball, Jalen Stewart, Alex Karaban, and Terrace Reed, and a five-star freshman coming off the bench, how good can UConn be next season, and do you feel better about UConn heading into next season than you actually felt about UConn heading into this past season?
Oh, better. Not sure on the latter. I'm going to need a full off. I need a full off season to really take that in, ingest it, digest it, let you know.
I've already digested it. You might tell just by looking at me. I've already digested it, so you can continue to digest, but I've digested it. I have an answer.
I'm in the process of ingesting right now. Okay. By the way, you were right. I was wrong. You
say that again.
Karaban. Yep, you accounted for Karaban. I thought he would leave. That opinion was also informed by a few people at the NBA level that did their diligence and passed along to me that they very much expected Karaban to go in the draft. So I imagine the past few days on the Karaban front and UConn front, they might have been burrowing down in negotiations. And hey, good for him. He's got a wonderful shot. Karaban does too. If things really can go even better than they went last season, I'll get to that in just a second, then he's got an awesome chance here to, one, make a whole hell of a lot of money. I don't know how much Alex Karaban is making. I don't need to know, but my guess, logic would dictate a player of his value at a program like UConn, which certainly has some money to dish out here. If he's not making at least close to 3, then he's not getting what he's worth. So I would expect him to be at least at 3, if not more than that. And hey, if you can have an awesome senior year, become an All-American, that's a pretty incredible college career all the same, regardless of whether or not UConn, say, makes another Final Four or not. Now, for your question, is next season's roster better than the one from this past season? I do think the answer is yes. Now, going into last season, I put UConn preseason top 10 more than anything because I wanted to give the program the benefit of the doubt after winning back-to-back championships. But looking at what they have here versus what they had a season ago and the carryover, just what you mentioned before, Demery, okay, he's an incoming transfer, but he's a much bigger player. He's just going to do more as a transfer than, say, Aiden Mahaney, who, by the way, just transferred out, and he's now going to go play at UC Santa Barbara. So Demery was a proven guy that got it done at Georgia. So he comes in. But then you have Solo Ball, Jalen Stewart, Karaban, and Reed all back. I mean, the roster continuation with 4 starting level players, I think, is significant. And because of this, now you've got, and we touched a little bit on this on last week's show, but now that we know Karaban for sure is back in, you got a really good thing here for the Big East and for college hoops, because I do think UConn is going to have a preseason top 10 standing. You've got them where, GP? You've got them 5?
I've got them 4.
So you got them 4. So heading into next season, knowing that you have them 4, UConn will probably wind up from an Associated Press preseason AP top 25 standpoint. And if you want to take any other mainstream ranking, it's going to be in that 3 to 8 range, almost definitely. It's not going to fall out of the top 10. And I think that is based in logic and a really good thing for college basketball, because now you want all your St. John's talk, go find the feed, the most recent episode. You'll have the Johnnies in the preseason top 10, maybe the preseason favorite in the Big East. And if not, it's going to be UConn. So you've got Pitino vying for a Final Four after having the Big East champions in both the regular season and the tournament last year. So you've got UConn versus St. John's. You've got Pitino versus Hurley, and it's viable. I mean, you've got Hurley now, by the way, trying to punch up at Pitino after having a down year, which for UConn, here was your down year. An 8 seed, a 24-win, 24-11 record, 24-win season, 3rd place in the Big East, and 1 NCAA tournament win. So the good news for UConn is that, yes, it was a down season. It was a season with some disappointment. Coincidentally enough, its season ended at the hands of the team that actually wound up winning the whole damn national championship. But yes, I do think that this roster goes into next season in a much stronger, better place. You mentioned the 5 that you've also got Jaden Ross coming back. You've got Dayton transfer Malachi Smith, who will play backup point. Braylon Mullins is the 5-star prospect you referenced before. I think Eric Reeby, the center, who will play backup to Parrish, has a lot of good potential. They probably need to / will pick up some sort of portal 4-man here that'll have some sort of impact. But yeah, overall, good gains for UConn in general and what they've built here. And a big news week also. They're adding Mike Nardi to the staff, the former Villanova assistant coach, and as Nova, a player as it gets there, but he was part of Kyle Neptune's staff, and so that got announced, not in conjunction, but within hours, I guess, of Karaban announcing he was returning. Mike Nardi will join the staff, and that means that Tom Moore, who's been the assistant there, I'm told he hasn't quite decided what he's going to do. He may stay on staff in sort of a GM type role. Tom told me a year ago he was considering retiring, so we wait and see on that. But yes, a big news week for the Huskies.
I have UConn 4th in the top 25 and 1, behind only Houston, St. John's, and Purdue. And just to answer my own question directly, I feel much better about this roster than I felt about last season's roster, even heading into last season. I don't want to have revisionist history. All this stuff is out there for you to Google search. Yes, I had UConn in the top 10 preseason last season, like everybody else. The truth is, I don't want to say I got bullied into it, because that's not the right word. It's not the right word.
You did. You got bullied.
Not bullied. That's not the right word. I've been bullied before, but that's not the right word. I looked at the roster and I was like, I don't see it. Like, Alex Karaban's your only returning starter. He is the guy everybody is saying is supposed to be your best player. Can Alex Karaban really be the best player on an elite basketball team? I had real questions about that. But then the betting markets kept saying UConn's the favorite. And Dan Hurley kept saying, I love this roster. It might be better than last season's roster. I don't know if he said that exactly.
Let's just invent quotes. No, I like when we do that on the pod.
Yeah, I don't know what he said exactly. He seemed to suggest that he really liked what he had and really thought it gave him a chance to three-peat. And the betting markets lined up with that. And I just got to a point where I was like, why do I think I'm smarter than Dan Hurley about the UConn roster? Why do I think I'm smarter than the betting markets? Like, at some point I need to fall in line with what everybody else is saying about this thing, because maybe I just don't see it the way everybody else is seeing it. But I had reservations. And then the season happened, and you know how that went. Here's my point. Do you think Alex Karaban's going to be UConn's best player next season? Do you think that?
Oh, Parrish, I'm actually not convinced of that, to be honest.
Me neither. That's what makes me feel better about it. Heading into last season, most people thought he had to be their best player. Mm-hmm. And my concern was, if he's your best player, how good are you? I think heading into next season, Solo Ball should be your best player. And Terrace Reed should maybe be your second best player, which means it's possible, not definite, but possible. When it all shakes out, Alex Karaban could be UConn's third best player. And if Alex Karaban is your third best player, you should have a great team that is in the national championship conversation. That is the main reason I feel better about this UConn roster. You have more proven pieces. Solo Ball, Terrace Reed. I think I can rely on those guys, particularly with the way Reed played down the stretch. And then I don't think Alex Karaban has to be the face of anything. Like, All-American teams, he was on them last season. Is he going to be on them heading into a senior season?
I could see it.
Maybe. I don't think I'll put him there.
Yeah.
So that's why
he'll probably put Solo Ball. I think Solo Ball, if he takes the next step and is deployed the way that he can be deployed and continues to shoot the way he shoots, I think I'm driving the Solo Ball train. So I'm with you on that. But both of them, I'll tell you what, one of them should damn well definitely be on a preseason All-American team. Again, there are 3 teams, so first, second, third, take your pick there. And I see you on that. Provided that Demario, by the way, as the point guard.
He could be great. He's
going to be good. Clicks and meshes and does all of that. They got Malachi Smith coming in. Listen, UConn fans, I know they're damn excited. They were just waiting for the official notice from Karaban. This actually landed right when the NBA announced its official list of early entrants, so all non-seniors, non-graduating college players, and Karaban wasn't on that. And lo and behold, credit to him for doing this. And we talked about this in some ways with reasons why he would do it, because of the money that's to be made there. I get all that, but I genuinely thought, he's won 2 titles. This past season wasn't great, but he played more minutes per game than he had before. He averaged a career high in points and all that. Why not maybe go and try and chase it after you were given, a verbal promise from Golden State a year ago that they would take you and give you guaranteed multi-year money. And instead, he's going to come back and try and improve his draft position, because I've got to believe that the feedback he received to this point indicated that he'd be no better than second half of the second round kind of deal. And if he thinks that he can come back to UConn, they can be a Final Four national championship contender again, and he can be better as a senior than he was as a junior. That's going to improve his chances all the more. I like these stories, GP. We can keep going on your thoughts, but I did want to at least bring this up. The fact that we've got, and this is, he's not on an island now, but I do want to highlight the players who are 4-year guys at one school. Yeah, sure, he's getting paid tremendously well, as he damn well should. But Alex Karaban, to do this, as someone who covers the sport, I don't fault a single player for hopping in the portal and trying to go get theirs. They go ahead and do it. But I'm going to appreciate and celebrate the guys that, however they get there, to play 4 years in college at one school and be a high-profile player. Like, Karaban has been a factor every single season of his college career. This was the norm, in 1989 and 1994 in college basketball. It's not that anymore. So we don't get these as frequently. We do get it with Karaban, and that's a good thing for UConn. It's a good thing for the Big East. It is a good thing for college basketball, because he will be among the, 5 to 10 most recognizable players heading into next season.
He's the most obvious example of somebody who should be a 4-year college player at the same program, given what he is and where he enrolled out of high school. Simply put, programs like Duke, UConn should rarely, if not never, lose a non-first round pick that they prioritize, that they want back. There will be times where UConn just doesn't want somebody back. Aid Mahaney is probably a good example of that. There will be other times where you can't keep the guy in school because he's a projected top 10 pick. Stephon Castle, Donovan Clingan, great examples of that. But Alex Karaban is forever a second-round pick. I don't think did anything this past season. I say this respectfully. I'm not trying to be whatever. But I don't think he did anything or much to change his draft status. And the reason I have always had him projected back to UConn through 10 versions of the top 25 and 1 is because he's more valuable to UConn than he is to any NBA franchise. I won't insist that he wouldn't have been picked in the 30s or 40s or 50s had he entered the 2025 NBA draft. And I won't debate that he would have gotten a contract of some sort, like we talked about last week. NBA franchises, because of taxes and aprons and second aprons, they need cheap labor. So, you're a second-round pick. We can give you $1.9 million a year. Please, come on. We need people like you to fill out our roster. He would have been in the NBA, but he'd probably spent time in the G League. He'd have probably spent time on Delta flights in row 32B. He'd have probably been playing in some empty arenas, one of which is 10 minutes from my house. Shouts to the Norlander Center, home of the Memphis Hustle. As it is, he'll play on a preseason top 5 team, be one of the faces of college basketball, play in sold-out arenas and on national television twice a week. Private planes, nice hotels. His life will be better as a senior at UConn than it would be as an NBA rookie. And I don't, I'm not going to sit here and say you got $2 million, $3 million. I ain't seen any contract, but I imagine he's making more at UConn than he would have made next year as a professional. And I know there's some thought when it comes to NBA people about, well, that's not the most important thing. The most important thing is you got to get your NBA clock started as quickly as possible so that you can get to your second. People like Alex Karaban should never be worried about their second contract. I mean, yes, you should be worried about it, but it is Alex Karaban should be concerned about making as much money in a place where he wants to be next season as possible, and then worry about all the other stuff later, because frankly, he doesn't project as somebody who's going to get some big lucrative second contract. not based on where he's projected to be picked someday in the NBA draft. Never rule it out. Never say never. But I'd be worried about next season more than getting to my second contract as quickly as possible. And that's why I think he did quite literally the most sensible thing he could do here.
It's a good-looking roster for UConn. Look forward to seeing this team next season. And, because it's coached by Dan Hurley, and he is the face of the sport as much as anyone else. You can easily make that case right now. Just the motivations and everything attached to coming back after falling short, going for the three-peat and all that. And again, the entanglement with St. John's, that's really, really good stuff. By default here, you've got St. John's and UConn as two of the four best teams in the country, but St. John's technically your preseason favorite in the Big East, correct?
St. John's, I have second in the top 25 and one, the favorite in the Big East, but I have, like I said, St. John's and UConn in the top four. So the Big East is the only school or the only conference with multiple teams in the top four. I like St. John's roster a little more than I like UConn's roster, but I mean, the margins are very thin. And just circling back to UConn, I don't think I shouldn't say there's no doubt, but I do expect Solo Ball to have a All-American level jump. Like I will project him as a high level All-American, first team, second team. He's going to be up there. I mentioned Terrace Reed earlier. He obviously has to be more consistent. But he showed flashes of like, oh man, he could be really good. And I could see a breakthrough season coming from him. He averaged like nearly 10 and 7. So a breakthrough season puts you at all conference level stuff statistically. And I just think if you got Solo Ball, Terrace Reed, Alex Karaban, all playing at all conference levels, which isn't hard to imagine for me, then you've got a team that could win a third national championship in a 4-year span. I don't want to spend every week of the offseason talking about, can UConn do it? I'm just saying on paper, they look like the type of team that can.
Well, UConn's not the only blue blood that made the news, that made the headlines here because of its roster situation. Duke added a player that many college basketball fans might not know that well, but could prove to be a pretty critical addition. It's reflected in GP's top 25 and 1. We'll get to that right after the break. But first, Nada, let's get a word from our partners.
Critics are buzzing about the new season of Yellow Jackets.
This is not healthy.
Yellow Jackets' new season now streaming on the Paramount Plus with Showtime plan.
So Duke has dipped into the transfer portal and grabbed a 6'6" guard who can shoot. His name is Cedric Coward. Started his college career at the Division III level. Was awesome there, transferred to Eastern Washington, played 2 seasons there, transferred to Washington State, started 6 games, and then suffered a labrum injury that ended his season prematurely. But in those 6 games, good stuff, 17.7 points, 55.7% from the field, 40% from 3, and now he's off to be a Blue Devil. Norlander, ain't many men in the history of this world started at the Division III level and then ended up a Duke Blue Devil. That list has got to be short.
Got to be first.
But this edition checks the box for me. Obviously, John Shire prioritized length at every position last offseason. He appears to be doing it again. Does this clearly make Duke a preseason top 10 team in your mind? I assume you're going to say yes.
I lean that way. Coward picked Duke. I don't think he even wanted to be going to Alabama on his visit. Alabama was the other school that was considered in his finalist list there. It is certainly it's an interesting journey from Willamette University. Trivia time. I know you did some research on Coward. By the way, Coward picks Duke is just, internet's gonna have fun with that. Where do you think Willamette University is? Did you look it up?
I did not look it up.
But he went D3. Can we? He played at Washington State, so maybe that gives.
Right.
So can you get it in 3 states? Willamette, D3, by the way.
Yeah, let's start in the state of Washington.
That's wrong. Nope.
Okay, then I would like to go with Oregon.
Bingo. Salem, Oregon. There we go. So he starts in Salem, Oregon, gets to Eastern Washington. Coward was like one of my final cuts on my preseason top 101 players list last season. And the reason was, Sam, we'll try and get to you before the end of the show, but I checked in with Sam Vecini and I said, hey, I didn't let him know who was on my list, but I was like, all right, who's one guy that you think should be on our top 101 list that you don't think will be there, but should be there? And he said, this guy, Cedric Coward at Washington State. Like, he's going to have a real chance. He's like a fringe NBA prospect right now. And so I looked at it and I said, okay, I'll consider him. But ultimately, I couldn't get him on there. And had he played a full season, he probably winds up at Duke regardless. But he could have been a more known prospect. But because he only got 6 games in, his impact overall is TBD. 6'6", he'll be anywhere probably from 205 to 210. I mean, if he bulks up, who knows? We'll see. Maybe he's 215 pounds. He's still going through the draft process. But I think the expectation here is that he is going to play at Duke. Like, he's still technically in the pre-draft process. We'll go through that. Hey, if he absolutely knocks it out of the park, we've certainly seen that be the case with a few guys that, in mid-April are considered a fringe second rounder. And by the time you get to the end of May, they are considered like, no, this guy's almost definitely going in the first round. Maybe Coward does that. Maybe Duke starts back at square one from a portal situation, but they're expecting him to be involved there. So he joins Darren Harris returning, Caleb Foster, Isaiah Evans, Malik Brown, Patrick Ngongba. All those guys are returning. You've got the Boozer twins coming in as freshmen. And then you've got Nicolas Hamina, I believe is how you pronounce his last name. He's a 5-star forward as well. So plenty of talent there. To your question, GP, I actually think Cameron Boozer is going to be a stud in terms of, like, I think Duke's going to have one of the 5 most valuable players in the sport in back-to-back years, which is some huge plot twist. I understand that. But after Flagg was the best player, if you told me Boozer was in that conversation, I would believe you. So with that in mind, yeah, getting Coward, if he comes along and can be something close to what he's been, Sion James level impact. He was a guy who came from Tulane a season ago. Coward's a different player than James for sure, but made serious positive contributions to having Duke be, from a metric standpoint, one of the 2 best teams, if not the best team in the sport last season. Like, yeah, preseason top 10 for Duke, I buy it.
I've got him 8th, and do think Coward rather should have a real impact. If you don't want to buy into the 6 games at Washington State because it's such a small sample size, I mean, I can take you back another 32 games at Eastern Washington where he was 63 of 163 from 3. That's combining his second season at Eastern Washington and his 6 games at Washington State. 63 of 163 from 3. That's 38.7% over 38 games. So I think he's the real deal. I think he'll be impactful, but as always, we'll see. He is coming off of an injury. Tell me if this is an issue for you, and perhaps it won't be. But right now, Duke projects, like if you were just to do a projected starting lineup based on the roster right now, you would probably have 3 returning players, Foster, Evans, and Ngongba, in the starting lineup, and none of them played big roles this past season. None of them averaged more than 4.9 points per game. None of them averaged more than 14 minutes per game. All of them are talented. All of them are heralded. Ngongba probably the least used of the 3 returning projected starters, but he was like top 25 prospect in the class of 2024. He's just a 1-position player, and they had Kamamala watch. So, good luck.
Yeah.
I just to believe Duke's going to be great based on the current projections, you've got to believe that these 3 guys, at least a couple of them, are going to take major jumps. Do you subscribe to that? Like Foster, Evans, Ngongba? Because I think Coward, like, he's already proven himself at the Division I level. Boozer, if you have doubts about him, you've never seen him. He's going to be great.
He's just, I will be truly shocked if Cameron Boozer isn't one of the 2 best freshmen in the country. So pick another one, and anyone you want, DeBansa, whoever. I don't
know if I'm gonna go that far because DeBansa exists and Darren Peterson exists.
I know that, and yet Boozer, correct. And yet Boozer has consistently been the most dependable, productive, statistical player in his class from the start, including every single play. That's why I say that. Like, I will be.
No, that's fine.
Plays for Duke. He's never not been awesome. DeBansa and Peterson have shown flashes of higher ceilings, But Boozer never has a bad game. He's just always dominant. His teams always win. That's why I say that. I'm all too aware of the talent at the top of the class. To your point, I think Boozer will be that good. I do think Evans, I think he really should make that leap, and I think Coward will be productive. And then, oh, by the way, like Malik Brown, if he doesn't factor into the start, like I think he'll definitely start games. Malik Brown has a chance if he's healthy, and he dealt with, I mean, he was banged up. But let's say Malik Brown can be fully healthy at full strength, play the entire season. There's a scenario in which he's the best defender in the entire sport next season. So with all of that in mind, that's why I lean toward Duke in that 8, 9, 10 preseason range. Although with the lack of proven production, there's definitely room for speculation on Duke. I think that's entirely fair, kind of what you're drifting at from a devil's advocate standpoint.
Yeah, and I know you might think, well, they'll just get there. I mean, they're not done. And I guess they're not done. I would assume they're not done. But if your, thought is maybe they can upgrade the center position through the transfer portal and have Gungba come off the bench again, I don't know that there's a better option than him in the portal available right now. Like James Scott is a 6'11" center who started 31 games for Louisville last season, like 7.6 rebounds. Is he better than Gungba? I'm not sure. It sounds like he's on NC State's radar anyway. So I just think Duke might end up rocking with him in the middle, and for them to be elite, he's gotta make a jump. I'm not saying he can't or even won't. I'm just saying it some of these returning guys are going to have to be much bigger players than they've ever showed at the Division I level.
Yeah, and that's an interesting thing going into the season, just seeing what they can do and if they can make that jump. And oh, by the way, with that in mind, like who becomes Duke's like prominent leader from a vocal standpoint, on court standpoint? Will it be Caleb Foster? They're probably going to ask him to do that. Can he do that? I think Malik Brown's a good leader behind the scenes, but is it going to be him? Especially if he's not a starter. You really need someone that's like an every game kind of starter. I don't know. It will be interesting. But Coward's a good get, unquestionably, and Shire and having talked to him multiple times previously, I didn't talk to him specifically about Coward here yet. Him and his staff, however they arrive at these conclusions, they just have very intentional ways of who they pick and not worrying about what your background is, just what you do, how you measure, how you've played. Do we think that we can fit you in for a specific role? Obviously, it worked out to really good games with a lot of guys on last season's team, with some freshmen that obviously came along. I do think it's important. However you overcome some of these deficits, I think does. Like Duke last season didn't have a lot of year-over-year returners. This season it does. Now they're not absolute standout studs, but getting Harris, Gongpa, Brown, Foster, Evans, like getting all of those guys back, I do think that will contribute, and it'll be interesting to see. We talked about UConn and its encore to a letdown season. We see how Duke, after making a Final Four and having a team clearly good enough to win the national championship, now let's see what happens, after Shire was able to stave off losing a single guy into the portal.
Yeah, one last thing on this, and then we'll move on. To your point, Tyrese Proctor is the only returning player who averaged at least 5 points per game for Duke last season. He was among the top 6 scorers, but the other 5 top 6 scorers were all new players into the program, whether they were freshmen or transfers. It doesn't appear that's going to be the case next season, where 5 of Duke's top 6 scorers are going to be newcomers to the program, because Caleb Foster probably got to factor into that. Isaiah Evans probably got to factor in that, and Patrick Gungba might have to factor into that. So they're going to be relying on returning players more, it appears, more so than they did the year before. Either way, the roster looks top 10 good to me. Is it top 5 good? Maybe not yet, but top 10 good to me. Let's move on. Other news and notes that you might want to touch on before we get out of here from recent days. UConn and Duke weren't the only programs that created headlines.
They were not. Okay, let's pick up on something we talked about near the end of last week's show. We have good news. Elijah Arenas, it was actually just coming out when we were recording, and then the story has kind of developed plenty since then. So let's talk USC. I want to talk a few things here. USC, Illinois. Shaq is apparently coming to college basketball, but we'll lead on the Trojans here. Elijah Arenas was involved in an early morning accident in a Cybertruck that he was driving. I believe it's been reported that Cybertruck vehicle belongs to his father, Gilbert Arenas. Now, he was in the hospital. He was intubated. He was put into a coma for smoke inhalation. He got pulled from the car. There was actually the family shared a statement with a fairly harrowing account, frankly, of him needing to be rescued and pulled out of the Cybertruck when that happened.
Like just not to get too dramatic and I'm sorry to interrupt, but like Good Samaritans quite literally saved his life.
Yes, for sure.
Yeah.
He was like, there was a video that was shared where he I guess he knocked over a fire hydrant. Like he's in a puddle. His father, Gilbert Arenas, has a very popular podcast. Now, he wasn't on the show earlier this week, but he passed along a message. And this was on Monday that Elijah was expected to be released from the hospital soon. For all we know, he has been at this hour as we're podcasting. Hopefully he's even out of the hospital and he's going to be okay. Hopefully he's on track to be able to, he's set to attend USC and able to play there. But, smoke inhalation, like some seriously dangerous stuff. Apparently I was said that he was coming back from the gym. So he might've been getting that is a super early workout, if indeed that was the case there. But thankfully this isn't as bad as we worried about in real time. Like, he suffered no broken bones. There was you worry about smoke inhalation, what it does to your lungs and any damage short-term and long-term, but hopefully he's okay. Obviously he's going to go through a significant, physical doctor checkup, all that stuff before he's cleared to play. But it is way, way better than we had first initially seen there. And then GP, I'll toss it back to you, but let's USC all in one bucket here. I guess 2 or 3 days after this happened, or maybe even a day after, I can't remember. Chad Baker-Mazara, former Auburn player, he has committed to USC. So that means that Eric Musselman, with the idea that Elijah Arenas will be good to go, he's a projected starter as an incoming freshman. Chad Baker-Mazara, they got Rodney Rice. Amarian Dickerson from Robert Morris, who had himself some really awesome moments in the tournament in their game, in their 215 game, and then Jacob Kofi from Virginia. So Baker-Mazara probably registers among, top 15 transfers overall. So that's a good get for a USC team who, as I said on last week's show, has made a massive jump in its NIL resources. And and Baker-Mazara, that it will be interesting to see Muss coaching Baker-Mazara. That actually has some seriously entertaining potential. Good on him. Go get the bag, young dude, and glad to see Arenas is happy. You're doing better, at least. Your thoughts on USC?
Yeah, just the Arenas thing is so scary. I saw the same video you saw, and the part that's terrifying is you just see the Cybertruck, you see fire, you see the fire hydrant blasting, and then there's this moment where I think a man says to another man, "Is somebody in there?"
Yeah. And
they're like, and you see oh my God, he's still sitting in that Cybertruck and it is on fire. It is not a leap to assume if those men don't arrive at that accident scene in that moment.
I think it was a noisy car accident, and so it woke up the people it happened in a residential neighborhood.
Right.
I think it woke up people. They got out of their houses. They wondered what the hell was going on, and then they had to literally pull him out from the Cybertruck, whether it was locked from the inside or whatever. I don't know, but yes, they definitely saved his life.
They saved his life. And that's just, man, I don't know how, if you're Gilbert, you can even watch that video more than once. Because it's one thing to hear your son was in an accident. He's got smoke inhalation. He's headed to the hospital. It's another thing to see a video and that's my son inside that vehicle. It's on fire. And if these men who we've never met don't pull him out of there, he would have quite literally, I don't even want to say it. It would not have ended well.
Yeah.
I don't know this young man. But I am a father, and that's just it. That breaks me up, man. Yeah. That video was hard to watch because you see your son. There is nothing more, no feeling of helplessness more than when your kids are struggling or need you or hurt, and you can't fix the issue for them. I am by nature sort of selfish, and I just remember when my oldest son was young and we had a real medical scare. Turned out to be fine, but there was a moment where you don't know whether, we're getting an MRI done and he could have a brain tumor. He could have brain cancer or not. That's what we're told. We don't know. It obviously wasn't. Thank God. But man, I remember thinking in that moment, I would trade. I never understood people saying I would trade places with my kid right now, and I'm like, really? I just never made sense to me until you're in that spot, and I'm like, man, give me the brain tumor and let my little boy be okay. And I couldn't help but think about that as you're watching Elijah in that Cybertruck. Like Gilbert, like in that moment, you would jump in that Cybertruck and pull him out of there, and you take whatever you got to take, and you just are thankful forever that other humans put themselves at risk to save your son. That is what happened. Other humans put themselves at risk to save your son. And just the whole thing, like that was a hard thing to watch. But, basketball aside, we'll see, because I do think smoke inhalation, lungs, basketball player, that's not a great combination.
Right.
I don't know if it means anything. It doesn't sound like a great combination. We'll see with the basketball stuff, but the best part is like Gilbert Arenas and Elijah Arenas are going to be able to hug each other again and, watch TV again and, shoot jumpers in the driveway again. And, the basketball stuff is all secondary to that.
No question about it. And for USC, we can move on, but just the program has just been through so much. Vince Nwachukwu in 2023 suffered heart failure. Bronny James a year ago, I guess it was, right? Or maybe it's 3 of the past 4 years, suffered cardiac arrest, completely unrelated things, but coincidentally enough happened to USC. And then Elijah Arenas goes. They have just had off-season issues with 5-star prospects, like incoming players 3 years in a row. Program could really use a break. Let's go to Illinois. If you're watching on YouTube, if you have this, hey YouTube, can you bring up the AI rendered image that Brad Underwood posted? This is actually now his profile pic on Twitter because Illinois is, first of all, I love it.
It's the best.
It is. Okay. This is straight out of Cold War era, 1983, middle of the Balkans. He's actually got now. If you're watching here, you see, because Illinois is a Nike school, so it is an AI image of him in a Nike full-on athleisure suit. But we associate that get up with actually Adidas. So we're waiting on to see if Nike can make these kind of happen. He's got the cabbie cap on. It's an incredible look. And I texted him. I was like, I'm pretty sure I'm just going to have to refer to you as Brad Underwood for the next year.
Hey, what's the show with the serial killer, the HBO show?
Oh, that narrows it down.
Barry. Did you ever watch Barry?
I did. Yeah, I actually just finished Barry. I'm way behind on my shows.
Sure.
I just finished Severance season 2 like 3 nights ago. Solid. Anyway, I finished Barry as a series, I think like in mid-January. But yeah, like he looks like one of the guys that would have been on Barry.
he looks like somebody who's trying to kill Barry. That's what he looks like.
That's a great call. Well, the reason why he posted this is Illinois now, and what a thing. And I actually intentionally, just for the show, to learn it on the show in real time, I assume now that Illinois is in your top 25 and 1. We'll get to that in a second, but I intentionally didn't look because I wanted to learn on the show. But now they got Andre Stojakovic onto the roster. So this is the 5th player now that will play for Illinois next season, whose last name ends in IC. So they've got Tomislav Ivisic and Zvonimir Ivisic, the brothers, that are going to be playing alongside each other. They've got David Mirkovic, who's from Montenegro, and Ivisic is from Croatia. Zvonimir is from Bosnia-Herzegovina. You've got Andre was born in Greece. Now, he mostly grew up in the United States because his father was Petar Stojakovic, but they've got a Balkan connection as well. And then you've got Mihailo Petrovic, who is from Serbia. So, and he was like a legitimately really solid player playing for Mega Superbet, which isn't a gambling boost. That was actually the name of his team, was Mega Superbet, that was based out of Serbia as well. So Illinois going with, in addition to having, Boswell's back, you've got Hummerkaus that is back. They've got Ty Rogers who is back, but they and again, as I said last week, this is not the first team to and the first coaching staff to really try and load up on international players. But to my knowledge, this really is the first team to bring aboard 5 players with direct ties and to the greater Balkan region. So for Illinois to become Illinois is turning into like this de facto Euro-based kind of team. I find it fascinating. Your thoughts on Stojakovic, who's been a good player, maybe slightly overrated, but he's been a good player. We'll see if he can make that jump. Where do you have the Illini now? Because I know they were knocking on the door before they got Stojakovic.
I moved him up to 22nd. Tom Fornelli still says that's too low.
Of course it is. I mean, unless you've got him number one, Fornelli's going to be giving you crap. What do you want?
He's never satisfied with my
Never.
He's never satisfied with my rankings. I got Illinois 22nd. I would like to see him do a multi-team event in that part of the world. Can they fly over there and do a multi-team event in that part of the world?
I think that they should.
Better be careful, man. You might not get them back in the country. You better be careful. You better keep them all in Champaign. Get them to Champaign and like lock them up. Put them in their apartments. Buddy, I wouldn't take any chances these days. I don't know what's going on out there.
That's actually a fair point. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Hey, 22 seems fine and fair.
Them dudes going to end up in El Salvador if they don't be careful.
Here we go. I'm fascinated by to see how this works, to see how much Underwood. There's some people are calling him Bradislav Underwoodovich, however we want to call this dude. How much does he tweak his system, what he's running, to accommodate some of his guys? Because like legitimately, like Petrovic is coming over from playing like in a European type system. He's 6'3". He's going to have the ball in his hands. We'll see. And obviously we're coming off of them having Yakachonis, who's going to be almost certainly a lottery pick in general there. But no, this is a cool little plot twist in college basketball. Like it's a cool new storyline in Illinois with its roster now quite clearly preseason top 25 level. I just want to see like the two Aviciches, like how often, if ever, like 1-7-1, the other 7-2, how often are they going to be on the floor together? How does he use them with rotations? Stojakovic is like a good classic small forward. How much does he play with Hummerkaus? They've just got a lot of lineup combinations. And then, oh, by the way, and we'll deal more with this on the preseason stuff, but like Kylan Boswell's been good, but he can be better. Like is having this much around him, is this going to elevate him to where the kind of player that we've been kind of waiting to see? He has flashes and spurts, but it hasn't been there. But congrats to Illinois on building a roster. And oh, by the way, doing it not on the cheap. Heard from a number of people who, when I did the story on the $10 million club, they're like, yeah, Illinois easily in that group, and more power to you guys for doing that. But this is if you want to know what a $10 million roster looks like in college basketball, what Illinois has been able to build up here has been impressive and adds more intrigue to the Big Ten.
Anything else we need to touch on before we get out of here?
I do. A couple things and we'll bounce. I know you got to do your show here. Shaq is going to be the quote unquote GM at Sacramento State. They got Mikey Williams. Yes, that Mikey Williams. He just committed. What a journey he's been on.
Man.
Just real quick on like, do we think Shaq's going to do anything with Sac? Now his son plays at Sacramento State. That's why this is happening. He's got a son who's going to play at Sacramento State for Mike Bibby. That's also the connection here. If you're Sacramento State, like you're getting into the headlines, by all means, great job. But I'm just.
I assume he just buys players. I assume he's going to buy us some players. I mean, he famously. I mean, there's interviews. Like he just walks into a jewelry store, sees somebody putting a wedding ring on layaway, and says, "Here, I'll take care of that." He's just throwing around money all the time, anyway. Like he's not just a former basketball player. Like this guy owns 1 million Papa John's and 70,000 other things. I mean, he is extremely wealthy.
Let's do the Google search right now. Let's take our guess, trivia time ourselves. What do we think Shaq's net worth is on a Google search?
400 million.
I'm gonna say 615 million. Shaq net worth. I'll say 615. You said 400 million. I hate this AI overview. I hate Google bringing up the AI. It's just get this out of my face. AI
overview says 500 million. Right?
Yeah, I don't know if I trust the AI overview. If you Google does water freeze at 27 degrees, it will say no, water freezes at 32 degrees. I don't trust the AI overview. Okay.
Well, you shouldn't trust net worth thing because like my kids one time Googled Our net worth.
Okay.
And it's just
it's not even Googleable. What are we talking about?
no, it is. It
Okay.
is.
Okay.
And it's wrong. But I got
You're tempting me to do this right now on the show.
My kids started asking for some wild stuff. And I was like, where are you guys getting the idea that we can do these things or we should do these things? And they said, Dad, we know what your net worth is. And
Okay.
there is one site that there's one site that applied my net worth to my sale of Yeezys. It suggested I was selling Yeezys on the side to create an incredible net worth. This stuff is really on the internet. No, if you want to know the truth, I got thousands of dollars of Yeezys sitting downstairs in my closet. I can't wear them anymore. Okay, because he's lost his mind.
Correct.
So I do have thousands of dollars of Yeezys, but I haven't sold $80 million worth of Yeezys, which is out there on the internet somewhere.
Oh boy. Shaq's going to be the GM at Sacramento State. College basketball is an incredible place right now. On that note, did you see the commitment that went down late Tuesday night? Did you see the name? The name of the dude? Now to bring it up. I can't believe Chandler Bing. There's a prospect named Chandler Bing that is going to play for Vanderbilt. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, the meme potential is, I mean, the gifts that are just, it's gonna be nonstop, as it should be. The show went off the air in 2004. He was born after that.
Right.
His parents knew what they were doing.
Oh no, they didn't. They
knew what they were doing.
I mean, I know they knew what they were doing, but they didn't understand what they were doing.
Now, when they had Chandler Bing, could they have anticipated that he would, go on to be a Division I basketball player? Suppose not. But it is wild that there's an incoming college freshman named Chandler Bing. I mean, I don't have any Chandler sound bites on my board yet. They'll be on there. By the way, like Friends, all these years later, where do you land on Friends?
I never watched it. Understand. I do understand how it became a phenomenon in the United States of America. We're simple-minded, a good percentage of us, but I never understood. It was never for me. They didn't make that for me. I'll put it that way. That show was not for me.
Okay. I watched a lot of it when it was on. This would have been when I was in high school and then into college. I dropped off like final 3 seasons. I don't know if this is a hot take or not. I think the majority of that show I'm not going to say it hasn't aged well because certain things just don't age well for one reason or another. By 2020 standards, in this era, I just don't find it to be like a lot of people they continue to binge it. I think season 1, some of season 2 and season 3 actually is still, I think season 1's still the best season of Friends. But I remember 6-7 years ago, I had some buddies that were just rewatching it, just kind of brought it up in conversation. I was like, okay. So I kind of dipped into season 5. It doesn't have the staying power like some other shows like, Seinfeld, Arrested Development, Curb Your Enthusiasm, Veep, some of these
Veep is genuinely funny, and Arrested Development was genuinely hilarious, like smart funny. Arrested Development, smart funny.
Veep, smart funny. Arrested Development, even 30 Rock, even 30 Rock, I think still has some good some staying.
Curb, smart funny. Friends was just like the people who think they're funny, at the kitchen table, but they're really not funny at all. That's what Friends is to me.
That being said, Matthew Perry was genuinely a very, very, he was the one who made
rest in peace.
I know that's the other thing.
Yeah,
man, I wish Matthew Perry was just still generally alive.
Yeah, I wish he was
alive. But I would just love for him to have discovered that there's a dude named Chandler Bing that's about to play.
Well, he had a life.
It's just It's just
He had a lot going on, Matthew Perry, I gather.
he did.
Yeah.
And by the way, if you're listening to this, you were unaware that there's a prospect named Chandler Bing. Go ahead, bring us up on the YouTube. Go Google. He doesn't look like what you think he looks like. So just he does not look like Matthew Perry. That's the other part.
Well, I don't think you can assume when you name your kid Chandler Bing that he's going to grow up to look like Matthew Perry. I don't think you can try to check everybody.
People hear like Chandler Bing is going to play college basketball, like and Matthew Perry's image is going to populate in their mind, and they're going to probably associate that this player is going to be some, like 6'1" white point guard. That's not what's going on here. So just letting you know. Last thing.
Yeah, please.
Two more things, and then we'll get out of here. I know you got to go. Two more things. You saw Kendrick Lamar.
I did.
I think Nada is supposed to see Kendrick this weekend. So just, 2-minute concert review. How is Kendrick Lamar?
Amazing. I've seen him now 3 times, going all the way back to him opening for Kanye on the Yeezus tour, like 13, 14 years ago.
Big
that
Kanye
was right after
over there, huh?
Well, once upon a time. I had to separate. I still enjoy Dark Fantasy, but you ain't gonna catch me listening in public, I don't guess. So I've seen Kendrick a lot. He has been my favorite artist for a while, long before all the stuff with Drake happened. He, by extension, you know how this works as a father. Your kids end up listening to what you listen to. If that's the Beatles, it's the Beatles. If it's Kendrick Lamar, it's Kendrick Lamar. Yes, we have edited playlists, and that is what my kids have listened to. GNX literally every day since it came out. My son's walk-up song in baseball 2 years ago was DNA. He is my children's favorite artist and mine as well. So we decided, let's just do it. Opening night, Minneapolis, most anticipated tour of the year. His first performance after the Super Bowl. Let's create this memory for them. And I'm so glad we did it that way. I know not everybody thought it was smart to take an 11-year-old and an 8-year-old to a Kendrick Lamar show. And I get that. I'm not, I'm not like, I understand. Not everybody would have done it. I am so glad that I did. So glad that I did. It was an amazing night with my children. And I spent as much time watching my little boys enjoy themselves and see this larger than life thing right in front of them. Spent as much time watching them as I did watching Kendrick and SZA. It was just a perfect night and a great trip, and they'll remember that forever. And if anybody is thinking about going, if you don't care, don't go, right? I'm never like, you must go. Hey, if you don't care about it, you shouldn't go. I gather Morgan Wallen's a big deal, but if he was playing a stadium 15 minutes from my house, I'd probably just pass because I don't care. So if you don't care, don't go. But if you are interested in either artist and you want to see them both at the height of their careers, I mean, they both have the biggest albums in the world right now, the biggest song in the world right now, and they're coming off the biggest years in their careers. And for Kendrick, he's quite literally coming off arguably the biggest year for a rapper in history.
That's a pretty big statement.
Okay, well, let's run through it.
Not a flip on the mic, because also not about to see Kendrick. It's Kendrick Lamar coming off the biggest year by a rapper ever.
Yes.
Yes.
I gotta agree with GP on that.
So one a high profile, rap beef with the guy who was the biggest hit maker for a decade, ruined his career or at least severely damaged it, got the Super Bowl, got the #1 album, one of the biggest rap songs in history, and from a chart perspective, arguably the biggest ever. Puts out the biggest album of the year, won 5 Grammys, and will probably sweep the whole thing again next year. Becomes the first artist to ever get a Gatorade commercial, gets the Chanel deal, and now he's selling out.
Chanel deal,
all this stuff matters, Drake's putting out songs about Chanel.
I had no idea that Kendrick Lamar had a Chanel deal.
Yeah, Drake's put out songs about Chanel, and Kendrick's the spokesperson for Chanel. That's the way this thing is happening. And then he's selling out football stadiums all over the country. The night we were there, opening night, Minneapolis, highest grossing concert in history with a rapper headlining or co-headlining. And then the next show was in Houston, broke that record. Next show was in Dallas, broke that record. Last night was in Atlanta, and I'm assuming when the numbers come in, broke that record as well. This is historically unprecedented, and the idea that my little boys got to see that in this moment, and it will forever be their first big concert, I I loved it. Absolutely loved it. And for people who are like maybe thinking about doing something like I did, just know this. It was completely comfortable the whole time. The crowd was great. It never got too rowdy. It was just it was perfect. Like my boys were treated well by everybody there, dancing with the people next to them, rapping with the people next to them. It was a perfect night.
Okay. This could be a total podcast spinoff. So we can't go too much longer because GP's got to hop in the car and go to his Memphis radio show. When you said biggest year ever, what jumped to my mind, and there's some mentions in the chat here, is Tupac in the mid 90s. That was pretty big. LL Cool J was a pretty like massive deal. And also I guess, and I'm by no means am I the hip hop expert on the show, but I do know a little thing or two about music.
Yeah,
and,
I guess.
And where we are in the culture in 2025 versus like how big music artists felt 30 years ago and how celebrity and fame was different then. I'm not saying you're wrong. It's just it's a pretty big heavy statement. Like Tupac was like at the center of a beef that to me felt even bigger than Kendrick versus Drake personally, and also was like starring in movies. I'm a devil's advocate here on that, GP, but there's even some there's some DMX 1998.
Yeah, just like I think we're I think we're just getting caught up in two totally different things. I will not debate Tupac's legacy. Tupac could sell Tupac.
I will not debate Tupac's legacy.
I'm just saying I will discount it or try to argue it. Case versus case against Kendrick's. I'm just saying Tupac could not have sold out football stadiums. Now, some of that's just raps in a different place today than it was then.
Yeah, if Tupac was alive today, he would be selling out football stadiums. If you took everything and placed it into 2025, he's quite clearly selling out football stadiums.
Perhaps. I just know that he never did. And he never had hits, mainstream hits this big, and he didn't do these things. These things that Kendrick is literally doing right now, and Tupac didn't do them. It doesn't mean this is a GOAT debate.
Jay-Z was never had a single year that was as big as Kendrick, right? It's just it's an interesting thought experiment.
Jay-Z can't do a stadium unless Beyonce's sitting next to him, or Eminem, or Justin Timberlake. I've seen Jay in a stadium.
Like Eminem circa 2000.
Eminem was right. Eminem was right
that's
there.
A pretty massive. Man, this is a good thought experiment. By the way, Kendrick Lamar won the Pulitzer Prize like 6 years ago.
Yeah, that's
crazy. Is like he's no other artist in hip hop has ever come close to that kind of thing. And
another artist. He's the only non-classical, non-jazz artist in history to win a Pulitzer Prize for music.
Yeah,
like he is. He checks every box. Like if you want hits, he can make hits. If you want art, he can make art. If you love words, he's the best at them. Just whatever you want, he can do it. Like that was the thing. He just made albums of art with bangers few and far between. And people are like, I didn't. So then he just makes GNX. It's just one banger after another. It's just one big radio song after another. And now it's the biggest album in the world. Like he's in the GOAT conversation and has had a year unlike any other year anybody in rap has ever had. I don't think that's debatable.
Not a flip on that mic real quick. You're supposed to see Kendrick this weekend, right?
Yeah, Saturday in Charlotte. It's basically me and my 5 siblings doing this all together. So it's another little family affair. Can't wait.
That'll be awesome.
Have you ever seen him before?
I have seen him once. I think it was like Raleigh or Greensboro, and I cannot wait. Like I want to see the evolution of what this is going to look like.
It's that was the other great thing about going opening night is I didn't know what to expect. You didn't know if they're coming out together, if they're going to do a true opening set and then a close. You didn't know when, or is the opening with whacked up mural or something else? And so the uncertainty of it was fun. By now, you can know exactly what the show's going to look like if you care. The set lists are out there, but it's a blast, man. I would do it again. I don't know that we will do it again, but I would do it again. I would look forward to going again. I will say I've seen Kendrick in arenas. It is a different feel in a stadium. It's just bigger and it doesn't have the same pop that it had. Like we saw Kendrick on the Mr. Morale tour. My wife and I flew to Atlanta and went to State Farm Arena, and that was a different feeling than this big stadium in Minneapolis. Yeah, but it's an amazing show. Great show. You'll have a blast. I'm happy you're getting to do that with your siblings.
All right, last thing before we get out of here. I don't know. Are we mandated to chime in on the debate that's taken over the internet over the past 5 days? I feel like as podcasters, do we have to do this? I've actually thought about it a lot. You know what I'm talking about, right?
Oh, sure. Of course I do.
So 100 men versus one gorilla. Who's winning in that battle?
I think
the about it on your Memphis show. I feel like everyone has chimed in on this. And,
I was on another show and I was asked about it. I did not bring it up. I would say that the best, the threads are hilarious. The threads are hilarious. All right. Just LOL, laying in bed, scrolling through, laughing out loud. People are funny. That is among the reasons I won't abandon Twitter, even though I hate it, is because every once in a while people are just hilarious. And this topic has generated some of that. I think that the funniest and truest comment I've seen is yes, you could do it, but you all have to be committed to the cause. And you all have to go when it's time to go. And you have to understand 60 of us probably ain't gonna make it. But if we're all in it from the jump, we can get this done. But if there's any hesitation, if 4 guys are ready to go and then the next 4 are hesitant and the next 20 are hanging back, they'll pick you off one at a time. This gorilla, he'll get you one at a time. You got to go 100 against 1 from the jump. If you try to do all right, it's your turn. All right, buddy, it's your turn. All right, let's go.
That's not going to happen. I also there's so many factors here. Is this true hand-to-hand combat? Are you fighting in the jungle? Does the gorilla have access to pick up anything that he wants to? If so, do the humans do? Are you getting 100 NFL players? Are you getting? Am I one of the 100? Because then we're not winning. But if you tell me no shot. But if you tell me this is 100 guys in their 20s, in their physical prime, and they all attack the gorilla at the same time, and you get 4 guys on each leg, 6 more guys on each arm. I do think 100 guys, you got to get the gorilla pinned to the ground. And if you've got super, super strong guys and they've pinned the gorilla, then I think you can win. With 100 dudes is a lot. So I actually side with the 100 humans as long as they are, it can't be just random people from the population. These have to be borderline psychopathic people ready to die for the cause.
Yes,
because
that's the key.
Some people are going to die. They're going to die. They're going to die. They got to be prepared for what's going to happen there. But there's been a lot of the gorilla is just taking care of all of you guys, and this is what the gorilla looks like after he kills the 99th and 100th person. I don't think so. You get trust me, I'm aware of how insanely strong. The video people that are combating this with okay, watch this video of the silverback gorilla right here and tell me that 100 guys could take this thing down. I get that entirely, but it is a fascinating thought experiment. I side, if you're telling me you can't use weapons, it is pure hand-to-hand combat, and I've got 100 guys between the ages of 21 and 27 in their physical prime, elite athletes, I'm going with the 100 humans.
I don't think you can get 100 humans to be that selfless. Unless they're
that's another hypothetical. Let's say they don't have the choice. Let's say you're putting.
I saw one guy go. One guy posted the meme of LeBron laying on his back from last week or whatever, where he's covering his face, but you see him sort of peeking out. Do you know what I'm talking about?
No.
Okay, well, LeBron got knocked down and he's covering his face. He's laying on his back and it's oh, I'm hurt. And then the cameras caught LeBron go like this. He looks up to see what's going on, and so some guys this is me the second I see the first 60 guys go down. He's just laying on the ground, peeking up, pretending to be dead for the girl. That's the problem. I think that's the problem is I don't trust my friends. I did see somebody put together a whole list. They actually named the 100. It was number 1, Aaron Donald.
Exactly. If you have Aaron Donald involved in this, freakishly strong. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Yeah.
Yeah, like number 33, Roman Reigns. And then number 41 was Ja Morant, just to lead the celebration. He had all this people with real thought into it. I think it comes down to how committed are you are you willing to die? Find me 100 men who I believe are willing to die. Then I'll bet on the men. Yeah. Then I'll bet on the men. But I don't think I can find 100 men who are willing to die. I think I'm gonna have some people
on this planet right now in 2025. You absolutely can find. First, I'm half intrigued and half worried that this has gotten so big that this will try to be created somewhere. Maybe in the Balkans. I don't even know. But I feel like this is actually someone is going to try and make it. We don't need to try and make this happen. But I fear that this has become such a thing that's taken over the internet that someone's looking around and saying, I can make a whole lot of money off of this thing. Let's try and make this happen there. I got my money on the 100 dudes. Anyway, we've gone long. I feel like we were obligated to talk about that. And I think that's a show.
Shouts to Devin Downey. Shouts to Chester, South Carolina. Terry Teagle, Huck, Larnell. Thank you guys once again for watching the Eye on College Basketball podcast. If you're not subscribed, please go subscribe anywhere you subscribe to podcasts, Apple, Spotify. There's more of us than there are of them. That should be reflected in the comments. So please do that. We'll talk to you again real soon. Till then, take care.